The Cube Mix Plus is a very interesting Windows tablet from China. Its highlights are a 10.6-inch Full HD screen and a 7th generation Intel Core M3 processor. We're also getting 4GB of RAM and a 128GB SSD. Despite its powerful hardware, it is quite inexpensive at around $350 US. As a comparison, the Samsung Galaxy Book 10 usually costs around $200 more. But how good is the Cube Mix Plus in real life use? That's what you will find out in this review. Even though the back is actually made out of metal, the build quality is not as high-end as the Surface Pro, but it is built quite well and won't break easily. It just doesn't feel very high-end. The transition from the metal back to the plastic frame could be a bit nicer. It feels like a typical cheap Windows tablet. Well, that's what it is. On the front are big white bezels and the back is grey. It's not the thinnest at 9.6mm, but not too bad either. It weighs 700 grams. Cube is giving us a 5MP camera on the back, which is alright, but not the best. The same goes for the 2MP front-facing camera. It's certainly usable for Skype, just don't expect to get the best image quality. On the bottom is a Windows button as well. There are quite a lot of ports on the side. We're getting a USB Type-C port and a micro USB 3.0 port. Inside the box is an adapter to a normal sized USB 3.0 port. There's also a micro SD card slot, a 3.5mm audio jack and a power plug. On the top are a power button and next to it are the volume controls. Speaking of the volume, the two speakers on the right side are actually usable. Not great, but not too bad either. They're on one side only though, so you won't get any real stereo feeling. The Cube Mix Plus has a 10.6-inch display, which is pretty nice. It's an IPS panel with a Full HD resolution of 1920 by 1080. While it is not the brightest screen, it is still usable outside as long as you're not sitting in direct sunlight. The viewing angles are good and colors look nice. Like with a lot of cheap tablets, the display is not fully laminated. There's about a 1mm gap between the touchscreen and the IPS panel. It's not bad at all if you're using it with your fingers, but if you're planning to use it with a stylus, it might look like you're not hitting an icon correctly in a certain angle. The pen is optional and supports 1024 pressure points. It seems like there's no kind of Gorilla Glass either. Instead, there's a pre-applied screen protector sitting on the touchscreen. As I mentioned earlier, the build quality is similar to those of cheaper tablets. That is not the case when it comes to the internal hardware though. In fact, it is quite powerful and similar to the cheapest version of the Surface Pro 4 or Samsung Galaxy Book 10. Usually at this price we're getting a pretty weak Intel Atom X5 chipset. But inside the Cube Mix Plus runs an Intel Core M3 of the 7th generation Kaby Lake chip. There are 4GB of RAM and a 128GB SSD. If you want, you can replace the SSD by yourself. There's a tutorial for that on YouTube. Thanks to the Core M3, the Cube Mix Plus is more powerful than most tablets at this price. That's noticeable during real life use as well. Surfing the web in Chrome or Edge with a lot of tabs open and YouTube in the background works much smoother and faster than with a typical Atom X5 device. I used the tablet as my notebook replacement for a while and that worked surprisingly well. I even installed Photoshop and was able to work with it quite nicely. If you are handling big files with a lot of layers, you might appreciate a bit more RAM though. Editing videos with Power Director was possible too. I didn't notice any major issues. It even renders videos at a nice speed. It took the Mix Plus just over 5 minutes to render a 16-minute Full HD video in Power Director with activated Intel QuickSync. As a comparison, the more expensive Acer Switch 3 with the Intel N4200 needs just under 8 minutes. I don't think you will get the Cube Mix Plus as a gaming tablet. It's not really meant for that. But you can play some games occasionally. I tried Asphalt Extreme and Mortal Kombat 5 out of the Windows Store. Both games run very smoothly and graphics look great. I just had to turn down the anti-aliasing on Mortal Kombat 5 a bit. Do you like the new game Cuphead? You can play it on this tablet as well. As you can see, the performance is very good at this price. There is one downside though. When rendering videos or playing games, the back can get quite hot. Even a bit too hot to hold it comfortably. If you like, you can get an optional keyboard dock for the Cube Mix Plus, which offers a keyboard and a trackpad and full-size USB ports. I wasn't able to review it though, but according to others it seems fine. Obviously you can connect any keyboard to the tablet, either via USB or using Bluetooth. I used the Microsoft Universal Mobile Keyboard and it did work without any problems. On the Cube Mix Plus runs normal Windows 10 that works exactly as it does on your desktop PC or laptop, so I don't have too much to say about it. There are a couple of special features for touchscreen devices though. You can activate the tablet mode to make it easier to navigate with your fingers. For example, the start menu transforms into a start screen. Apps are usually open full screen, but you can still open two apps side by side using gestures. As we are kind of used to from all Windows tablets, the battery life is not great. Inside sits a battery with a capacity of 4300 mAh. In my battery test that lasted for a runtime of 5 hours and 50 minutes. My battery tests are always identical. I'm looping an HD video at 50% brightness and activated Wi-Fi until the device shuts itself off. In my everyday use, the battery wasn't any better. I wrote down a kind of battery diary and the one day I got a runtime of 10 hours and 40 minutes. Out of those, I used the Mix Plus actively for 6 hours and 10 minutes. During that time, I mostly worked in Microsoft Word and watched some YouTube. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth were activated. So, what's my final verdict of my Cube Mix Plus review? Well, I actually really like it. Considering the price, the performance is excellent and the screen is good as well. The build quality is not the best, but similar to other cheap tablets. I don't think I can recommend it as a Surface Pro replacement. It's so much cheaper and also smaller. But I think it's a great alternative to most other cheap Windows tablets like the Lenovo Mix 320 or Asus Transformer Book Mini. With those, we only get an Atom X5 at roughly the same price. The performance of the Cube Mix Plus is much better thanks to the Core M3. You can even work in Photoshop, render videos and do some decent multitasking. All that is not possible with most cheap Windows tablets. Alright, that's my review of the Cube Mix Plus. If you have any questions, just write them down below. I'm ANJ for mynexttablet.com. Thanks for watching.